Have you ever felt misunderstood or struggled to connect with others on a deeper level? Today, we've got a very special treat for you on the Writers Corner live show. We're going to take a special dive down the journey of self discovery and meaningful connections with our guest, Kendra. She's a renowned author, coach, and consultant with over 2 decades' experience in organizational strategies. And in today's show, you'll uncover practical steps to courageously speak and build stronger relationships with people different from you. So, welcome to the Writers Corner live show. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Imagine a world where the lines of reality blur with the fantastical. Embark on journeys from humble beginnings to the pinnacles of literary greatness. On the Writers Corner, we delve into the lives of unique wordsmiths, known for their compelling storytelling. They are artisans who craft fantastical realms, etched in our memory long after the final page is turned. Every tale begins with a single word, a single idea. Authors create sensations that keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness how they transform setbacks into stepping stones, use refusals to spark growth, and turn rejections into catalysts for new inspiration. Witness the diversity in writing as it gives birth to a vast array of genres, from drama to mystery to children's stories, fantasy, and reality. Join us as we uncover sources of inspiration and the magic that defines the author's craft. Find out how authors breathe life into their characters and meticulously craft narratives and plots that captivate readers. Get a sneak peek into upcoming works and join us as we celebrate literary greatness only on the Writers Corner. We don't just celebrate best-selling Amazon and New York Times authors, but also indie authors. Join us on the journey from the birth of a tale to the creation of a masterpiece, only on the Writers Corner live show. Stay tuned.
If you've just joined us, then welcome to the Writers Corner live show. And if you're not yet following us on our social media channels, please do, because that way you'll get notified the next time we go live with our show. I'm Bridget Lambanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and our guest today is Kendra Q. Dodd. Our live stream is brought to you compliments of Creative Edge and Be Live Media. So welcome to all our viewers from around the world, and if you're listening to the audio podcast later, welcome to the show. But before we invite Kendra to join us, I want to first say hello to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. Mary is a 5-time #1 Amazon best-selling author and certified special needs and disabilities advocate who's dedicated her entire life to empowering underrepresented voices through her writing and advocacy. She's also a speaker, educator, ghostwriter, and songwriter. Mary, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. And thank you for that introduction. Both of us have a lot of hats that we wear. You have one on today, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And
Thank you.
We love coming together every Tuesday. We've been doing it for over 6 years. We are going to have a celebration at some point, right? Because it's something to celebrate.
Absolutely. And Kendra is one of our brand new authors. You know, I actually, I think I added up, we've probably had around 300 authors on our show over the last 6 years. And that's amazing.
Yeah, and every week that we have somebody, we'd love to have our friends on that have been on before and to celebrate their journeys, and like if they have a new book release coming out or a new project, but it's always fun to meet somebody new and learn all about them and share them with our audience.
Absolutely. So, folks, if you haven't yet met Kendra, she's an author, a coach, a consultant, and a sought-after presenter who specializes in process improvements, workplace culture dynamics, and professional growth. She has over 2 decades experience, and she excels in human resources, emotional intelligence, conflict management, change management, organizational and talent development. Her passion for personal development and continuous learning shines through in her dynamic and engaging approach to helping others like you grow. So let's welcome her to the show, shall we?
Yes. Hello, Kendra. Welcome.
Hello, hello. That was an amazing
Welcome to the show.
intro.
Do
Thank
you
you
feel
for
like the
having
most
me.
special person on the planet
I
right now?
do. That was an amazing intro. It's just like, yes, like felt like, well, I won't go there. But yes, it was wonderful and amazing, especially
That's
during the season of the Olympics, right?
Yeah, right? You needed to
Hmm.
have your leotard on or something. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
exactly. Yeah, that would be scary. But yeah.
Well, why don't you stand up
Welcome.
and do a landing in your chair, and then we can rate you on your landing in your
There.
chair. Oh my goodness. We are so excited to have you here. We're going
Thank
to jump right
you.
in because
Yes.
our time goes by so fast. And Brigitte and I are
Hmm.
usually left at every show at the end hanging, going, oh, I have no more, I have more to ask. I have more to listen to. So,
Yes.
uh, can you share a personal bridge moment from your own life that inspired you to write Perspectives?
Oh, I would think the biggest bridge moment for me is when I was getting certified to be a coach, right? Everyone said you should be a coach, you should be a coach, you should learn about it. And so it was during my training, right, in coaching. And they were teaching you what coaching really was. And coaching is actually more listening than talking.
Hmm.
And we need to learn that. And so there was a situation, and you can't assume. You should ask one more question. And so, this is a natural bridge moment, but I thought I understood it until I really, was formally trained and certified as a coach. And so I said, I don't like dishwashers. Okay. I don't know. I am just, and so someone else said, I don't like dishwashers either. Like, usually this day and age, who doesn't like a dishwasher? And so this was another coach that was being trained. And so the instructor said, you don't stop there, right? And bridge moments can be different things. And so they were like, Kendra, why do you like dishwashers? Or don't like dishwashers. And I said, it's because of the fact I am a germaphobe. I kind of wash the dish before it's in the dishwasher. So I use hot water. I basically kind of rinse it off and put it in the dishwasher. And I'm told you shouldn't, but I'm like, that's the only way I feel safe. So I wish I didn't go first. The other person goes and she said, I don't like dishwashers. She started talking about the rainforest and the rain and how we use water consumption and how it wastes and kills the rainforest. And so even though we think the same, and that is what a bridge moment is, but we meet someone that then when you dig deeper, you thought you knew something about them. It was probably more of a bridge moment for her than me because she was thinking, look at you, you're using triple the water now, right? Or double the water than it is before. And so I would say that's one simple bridge moment that I learned that even when you think you've gotten to a moment that it's okay, it can even be further that you think you know someone and you don't. So that's just one simple one of teaching me how to be a better practitioner of being a coach.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And talk about being a coach and communication. And a lot of our issues today in life is about communication and
Yes.
miscommunication. How would you define courageous communication? And why would you say it's an essential element in today's world?
It's very essential. I mean, it was essential even of me receiving promotions in corporate America. Um, there was a conversation. So I'm originally from the South, in South Carolina, and I was willing to move around. I even said within my bio in corporate America where I was willing to live, and I said everyone but 6 states out of the entire United States. And so one of these states was not on my list, but there was someone, and I think it was courageous, that it was Utah. There was an opportunity for me to get promoted when I was a practitioner in Utah, and the person looked like me. Okay, so it was a person of color, and he said, "I don't see a black person from the South moving to Utah." Yeah, this is
Wow.
happened, and so the person called me. Another person called me, which was a white male, and said, Kendra, would you be willing to move to Utah? Absolutely, I'll be willing to move to Utah. And he was like, okay, I'm just like, he called, like, he's like, went to the bathroom. He's like, okay. He went in and he spoke up and he said, I think Kendra should make that choice and where she wants to go. And first of all, let's look at documentation. She never said that she wasn't willing to move to Utah. That was courageous. And that was being an adversary, an advocate for someone else in a situation. And so you don't have to look like a person, right? Or that person can be your spokesperson because they look like you either when you're having courageous conversations.
Wow.
And guess what? I moved to Utah.
Well done. Well done.
Yes. What an amazing pivotal moment in your life.
Hmm.
And what a great story to share with others. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And hooray to the person who stood up for you, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yes. And
Yes.
so, there are a lot of barriers that we face when trying to connect with others pretty much day to day, right? Especially if you're
Yes.
out and about or at a job or meeting clients or you work in the service industry.
Mhm.
What are some common barriers and how do you feel like your book will help them overcome that?
It's very common. Matter of fact, in the middle of my book, I had an entire wallpaper of all the differences I saw because my practice was human resources, right? So that's my background. So I've seen everything, and I've literally lived across the United States, up and down the East Coast, and literally across the U.S. And I would say some of the biggest things that I think that happens is we can find something like the first example I give is we 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 agree on that, and then you find something that's different and you think as if you don't know the person anymore. I think that's the most egregious thing that can happen, and that's what makes us unique is that we find similarities, but when we find that difference we think the person is no longer that person, and that's not true. It just makes them as broad and unique as you are when they find out something different about you. And I would say probably the most common is just a simple misinterpretation, right? Nonverbals is probably a very common one that people may have. But also, I would say the number one issue in HR I would have would be humor. If I was to
Mm.
pick one, it would be when someone was teasing or not. And then that is actually one of my questions I have in the book. What do you define as teasing? What do you define as humor? Is very important. So a lot of people got in trouble when they were saying, oh, well, you should lighten up. So the definition of humor, which I think is very important, is probably one of the common things that would happen in the workplace for me.
Mm. Yeah, that's good because some people are not they don't take teasing very well or they're very
Right.
literal and they don't pick up the
Yes.
social cue that you're
Yes.
just joking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, often it's a lack of emotional intelligence where people
Mm,
try and play off inappropriate communication um, as a joke,
yes.
or saying that you have a lack of humor.
Hmm.
It's an area that I think we constantly need to revisit
Yes.
and work on. And talking about work, what role would you say emotional intelligence plays in the process of building um, meaningful communications in the book?
Sin- Significant. Significant. The two components of emotional intelligence, I was certified in that as well, is yourself and others, right? And so in that self-awareness is, am I aware of my feelings? So there's four components total in EQ. And so in the self-awareness part is, am I aware of my emotions? And the other is, can I regulate self-management of those emotions? Right? Like, oh, well, I'm just me. Well, no, that's not high emotional intelligence. Like, well, you just have to deal with it. That's just me. Everyone can change and modify, right? Self control is another word, their behavior. And if you can't, that is a low EQ. And then with others, you got to recognize how others are feeling and then your impact and your other with others. So those are all the four components that play huge within your relationship with others and being able to manage that.
Mm. That is that's really important for everything they're saying is so important for all of us. I really do
Mhm.
think. So everybody listening and watching out there, if you're working in, some sort of fashion with others, this is some really great information.
Mhm.
How can leaders in the workplace use the principles in your book to improve team dynamics and culture? Because there's so many companies out there that are trying to improve and make situations better, so they can have their employees stay for longer, or
Right.
have lifetime employees.
Right. And that's what I love. That's part of there's like three parts to my book. The last part is actually case studies that were real life that I kind of, managed through. I think the biggest thing what it does, it gives you a four-part plan, and I call it the seed method, right? So I think what happens is they let their emotions become the facts, and those aren't the facts all the time. And so how do you become factual? So the S is
I think we just had a quick technical issue there, and we've got Kendra back.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry
Did you
about
just
that.
get abducted by aliens for a
I
minute?
did, and it was a lovely place. It was so
Oh,
lovely. It was beautiful. So I was talking about the seed method that can help teens. And so, what is the situation, right? What are only the facts that the person stand up, that they roll their eyes, that they cross their arms? Only the facts of it. Don't insinuate, well, the person had an attitude because they crossed their arms. They might have crossed their arms because they felt uncomfortable, right? So what are the facts of the situation? So that's the S. And then E, what was your experience? What are you feeling about that? When people cross their arms, it usually means defensive for me. And where did that come from? Or you felt the person was not, why, right? What are your feelings? That's the self-reflection, kind of the EQ that you talked about. And then the other E of that is empathy. Where could they have seen this differently from their perspective in this situation, right? What I call a bridge moment. So, can you empathize where they're coming from? And the only way is the D is to have a discussion and decide what is needed from them. And it can happen, and we're all very guilty of that. And so the example that I give a lot of times is I don't like to be called cute. It's a four-letter word to me. I'm short in stature. You may not see that. And so I always felt like growing up, because I was so short, people would say, "Oh, she's so cute," right? And so it was, offensive to me. Well, isn't it amazing? I used that word with someone else one time in the workplace. I said her outfit, she looked cute, and she got very offensive, and she said, "I don't like what you just said." And I said, "Well, may I ask, what did I say?" And she's like, "I don't like the word cute." And I said, "I understand that." And I said, and so here was the fact. She walked up, her outfit, and I said, "Do I say this every time to you?" I said, "No." "Do I offend you every time?" "No." "So how do you feel about it?" "I just feel because I'm older that people use that word as condescending." You see how I gave my experience is because she gave her experience. And then we decided, I said, what can I continue to give you compliments? Because she does dress very well. She's like, "I would love to. What would you like to see in the future? And what would you like for me to say?" And I will tell you. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yes." And so we had some conversation. We joked. It became PG-13 of some of the things she said I could say to her. And then it became jovial. It became a fun time where I used some of the words like, "Aren't you? Look at you, you bad beep," right? You could fill in whatever word, right? You would want me to say, but she allowed it. She wanted me to. That's what she wanted. And so that was the D. But here's the thing I'm going to say in the seed method. Just like any seed, it may not be perfect the first time. But what it did is I'm leaning in to get to know you better and make the decision to hear your side and perspective. And people will remember that better than you avoiding them and becoming silent.
Wow, that is just uh, phenomenal. And it almost, what you just said kind of leads very much into the next question, which is, can you describe a practical exercise from your book perspectives that readers can implement immediately to start improving their relationships? I feel there's kind of a connection between the experience you just related. Is that from the book, or is that a purely personal one that you referenced?
That's not one that I reference. I have several in that for people to practice. So I have several experience. So the first part of the book is self-reflection. It's a lot of self-reflection that I've seen as conflict within others or with people within themselves. And it's hard sometimes of where that is. I had a reader reach out to me one time and they said, "I have two entries on what is truth to you and what is an untruth to you." I didn't say lie, I said an untruth, because even that is a spectrum for people, right? And so just for them to even grapple with that of what is a truth to them, and I have series of questions that you go through. What is an untruth to you? And there's a series of questions in that. So I would say the biggest thing first is I talk about is if you don't spend time to know where your triggers come from, you yourself is detrimental. You become a hazard. And that's what we have to realize. We will go around being hazardous to others if we don't even realize what's triggering us in the first place, because that goes back to that EQ as self regulation and self control.
And that's important because some people don't are not aware what their triggers are actually. And for some people, that feels threatening, like, oh,
Yes.
I'm wrong. Something's wrong with me if I
Yes.
acknowledge my triggers. I think we need to clone you, and you need to be everywhere. Kendra, what you're saying is so important. As I'm listening to you talk, it's reminding me of the therapies that are used with children, even my own son, and becoming aware of that and having that role play,
Mhm.
especially with children on the spectrum and who may have social interaction challenges or reading social skills. I see that being implemented more and more in schools, at least here locally, which I'm really grateful for because it's allowed my son to be able to read people better, and so that he can react better, and so that maybe as he grows up, like what you're doing is you're working with adults, but if we have people also doing this with children when they grow up, then they're going to be much more effective and healthy and have better relationships. So I'm really grateful for all of it.
Yeah.
How does perspectives address the challenges of diversity? Oh, this is a big question.
Okay.
Equity and inclusion in personal and professional setting, because diversity, equity, and inclusion are such big topics right now, I think everywhere, don't you?
Yes. It's a huge topic. Um, it's a very polarizing topic, to be quite honest. And so I words come and go. And I think we are seasoned enough in life that we know certain words that we could use 20 years ago, we can't use now. And so I do not consider myself an expert in DEI. I consider myself an expert in culture and the organizational effectiveness of that, how our behavior and the humanity of it that makes it important. And so, yes, do I do a lot? People want to put me in that pigeonhole. I will agree to that. But I'll tell you, it's more than just what are the numbers? Because there are some historical reasons why diversity is negative, because it was punitive back in the 60s and 70s. Title VII is a wonderful thing. It was a legislation, but some people they don't know subconsciously had negative impacts because there were things called sensory training that was done, sensitivity training that was done, and they would people put people in the hot seat to make someone to feel how they feel. No, the only one that people can is to relate within themselves to them learn to be empathetic. So yes, I do that work, but I think that within itself can be a siloed work. And I am working on how can we respect one another as humans.
So important. Wow.
Hmm.
Thanks very much for sharing that. Now for our readers out there who's picking up a copy of your book,
Yes.
what impact do you hope readers will experience after completing the guided journal in
Hmm.
perspectives?
I think to be more compassionate and empathetic, and also to give themselves grace. Right? What I talk about in the beginning, I am a coach, and a lot of my clients through the journey has my packages are by time, not by the number of sessions we have. It's let's spend some time together. Is that I say that people don't change, they transform. And what I mean by that, we can change our clothes, we can change a policy, it takes time, especially if you learn this and you realize that that trigger that you had or things came from your childhood or came from years ago. It's not going to happen like a light switch overnight. So it takes time. Give yourself grace. And I think that's what this book will allow to give ourselves grace, in turn, give it to others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is a great book for anybody who has employees, a boss, if you're, a coworker. I mean, and you're having some kind of challenge at work, grab a
Hmm.
copy of this book, right? And
Hmm.
then maybe give it to your boss and say, hey, could we try to implement this in our workplace? Because they're just, it seems like more and more awareness is happening, but it could happen even more. And it would be really great for that. And we're just so grateful to have you on today and to share all this. And for all our viewers out there, hope that they get some value out of this today. Absolutely. And get a copy of your book.
Yes. And the great thing about this book is you can pick it up and put it down. It's not something that I wouldn't even encourage you to do it in like a week's time. I would spend time in it, pick times up. And yes, I would say you can do it in group settings. This will be a great book club book. This will be a great, session book. They'll be great within teams to use within even a year. right? To spend time with each other and learn about each other.
Kendra, can you hold up a copy of your book?
Yes, absolutely. So here is a copy of Perspectives.
So it's not
Wow.
a very big book. It's a book you can pop into your handbag
Yes,
and
very
literally pull
easy.
it out when you need it.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Wow.
Kendra, thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
Thank
And
you.
you
That
know,
went by so fast.
I know interpersonal skills is something that I think we all need to work on all the time.
Mhm.
It's not something that you can, I don't know. I don't think anyone can really say that they can master it because, life happens and we
Hmm.
sometimes don't say things that we really, really mean because of our immediate situation. But I
Hmm.
think your book is a guide to go to try and rectify situations where we've messed up because we all mess up
Yes,
from time to time.
we do.
Right. And a good place to start is home. Like I tell my
Hmm.
children from when they were little, you need to work through the relationship that you have with your siblings so that you can take that out in the world someday. And if you can't master this at home, how are you going to master it out there? And if you don't treat your siblings with respect, you're not going to be able to treat other people well. So a lot of these skills we need to be helping our children with at home.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest thing that I consider myself, even in the work I do, that's different, is that I call it holistic development. Is that I don't talk about, hey, this is how you do in the workplace. Sometimes it may be a challenge that comes from your home, and so let's talk about all of that. And then if then you're successful in one place, you can transfer that. So I great points in making, and this is for everyone. This even within your religious affiliations, right? Within the church, you can use this book as well.
Oh yeah, listen, there's no boundaries for this book. So go get this book.
Yes.
Awesome. I want to thank our amazing audience today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Writers' Corner live show. And as Mary just said there, please go and grab a copy of Perspectives. Kendra, won't you just hold the book up just one
Yes.
last
One
chance so
more
people
time.
can recognize it?
There it
So there's a
is.
copy of the book. Please go and grab a copy of Perspectives because it's a book that you can use throughout your life and career. Go grab one. Thank
Right.
you, everyone. You're watching the
Thank
Writers' Corner
you.
live show. And Mary and I will be back next week with another amazing guest. Kendra, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
and
you.
for taking a dive into your book and sharing what people can expect to find in Perspectives.
Yes.
And thanks for sharing your experiences. We really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
having
Thank you
me.
so,
Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Writers' Corner live show. Thank you for joining us on the Writers' Corner live show. 30 minutes of insightful author conversations with some of the biggest names in the industry, including award-winning authors and international indie sensations. Join us on the next episode of the Writers' Corner live show.